Hi, my name is Nancy Haase, and I guess I'm introducing myself this evening as Deputy Selectman, First Selectman Nancy Haase. We're here for our final 2013 program of Community Conversations, and I'm joined with Cheryl Cook, and she was formerly on the program as candidate Cheryl Cook, and she's here today as Selectman Cheryl Cook. And of course, you might remember Sean Askham, who is back for a second term.
Second term.
Yep. So. Yeah. So we thought we'd start out today by just recapping the election, the campaign season, and talk about how much we enjoyed that. And I don't know if there's any particular stories that you guys have that just really resonated with you when you were out and about meeting folks. And
well, it was it was obviously an exciting many months with obviously the two of you and our good friend Mike Payne, who is also now Selectman Mike Payne. So there are four of us, although Mike's at work this evening.
Yeah.
But it was a great number of months. You know, we got together in July when we were announced as the slate, and obviously knocking on doors soon afterwards and meeting with folks. And as I said recently when I was on WTIC, we knocked on several thousand doors. I think individually and collectively, it was quite a feat to get out there and meet with so many folks. And that was really the fun for me, was getting to hear so many good ideas and people's perspective on the town, and reconnect with folks that I had seen before, folks I had rode with, gone to school with, folks that babysat me.
Folks that taught you in school.
There was many interesting opportunities to reconnect with those folks, and then again, as we said, to hear what was on people's mind. You know, obviously economic development, and the loss of the Hartford, and jobs, and and what was the town going to do about it, and all those things were things that we heard time and again, but. It was a really good season, and I enjoyed running with both of you, obviously.
Yeah, and I think a funny moment to share with folks is when we were at the 100th celebration of Central School, and the former principal gave a big plug for Sean in front of the entire audience.
Mr. Marshall knew me when I was, he was my principal from kindergarten up to 6th grade at Central, so that was kind of a cool moment to see him again.
That was an exciting celebration.
Yep.
I really enjoyed meeting so many people around town, and I was really struck by, the people who took the time to have a conversation with us. It wasn't just knocking on the door and handing them some pamphlets and walking away. We got a chance to get to know some people. And one moment I'm never going to forget is I had somebody email me after our conversation, and he sent me a picture from a town I lived in New Jersey. And I had, we were having a nice conversation, and I mentioned I had gone to high school in New Jersey, and he sent me a picture from my old town, and it was wonderful. And I saw him on election day, and he wished us the best of luck, and it was great to see him again. Yeah. So it was really great meeting people and making those connections.
Yeah, and I think what was amazing was sometimes you walk up to folks and they might have been working in their yard, and you didn't want to interrupt them. And one gentleman, I think I spooked because he was blowing his leaves, and it was noisy. And but he was great. We had a long conversation, and so. I think people sometimes they're a little reluctant, but before you know it, they're talking a blue streak, and they want to know what it is that we're going to do for them. And so I just feel so humbled, as I'm sure you guys do, that we were selected to serve the town, Sean, for us again. And again, like you said, be joined by Mike Payne and Cheryl Cook to do the work of the town, and we pretty much got started right away. So
absolutely, our first meeting was this prior Monday, where, as you announced at the beginning, but worth noting again, Nancy is the Deputy First Selectman, so that's exciting news for you. And
I'm very excited.
Yeah, we're looking forward to helping or watching you with Mary, lead the town in a bipartisan manner, as we as we talked about the other night. Yep. And I think with the four of us working collectively with Lisa and Mary, I think we can get a lot done. There's a lot of institutional knowledge, and there's a lot of new knowledge, and a lot of good relationships, whether we've served or not before. And I think all six of us bring a really good dynamic that we can use to do good work for the town.
Absolutely.
I think it's a really unique opportunity we have here to have you and Mary working together, and it's one of those moments where it's different, but it's time to move forward, and I think it's a great thing.
Well, we started off, we were going door to door. It was just as the folks down in Washington were doing some things that were ruffling people's feathers with all the budgets and stuff, and we heard a bit about that. And so I think to your point, it is a unique situation, but I think it speaks so well to the fact that there's a lot of things that we can accomplish together, and I'm very excited. One other thing we talked a lot about amongst ourselves, but it's true of all 6 of us, is we do have a varied skill set, and I think we can learn from each other both professionally, personally, and from our volunteer experience, and collectively
Absolutely.
do some really good work for the town. So
Absolutely. I do have one question for Cheryl, though.
on the spot.
So, being a first-time candidate, obviously you did remarkably well, both from a result and from what Nancy and I got to see, and
Thank
we
you.
really enjoyed running with you. But what did you think was the most surprising thing running for office the first time?
Well, I think I was surprised by, I was a little surprised by the response. I didn't expect it to be quite so intense so quickly. I think, I thought it was going to be a little more, relaxed and going into
Subtle.
it, and it was none of those things. So
Which actually made it pass by so
it did. It
so
went by
quickly.
very quickly.
Yeah.
But I was a little surprised by that. But what you get caught up in it, and like I said, I was so pleased to go out and meet everybody and really work on the campaign, and I think we all made a difference. So
Right.
I'm really looking forward to moving ahead with our work now.
And I should say a very hearty thank you to the businesses that opened their doors for us to meet with them and
Right.
with fellow and surrounding
Absolutely.
businesses
Right.
throughout the town. Some of the residents that opened their homes and invited their neighbors in, we were able to meet with them. And really, again, the door-to-door is a great opportunity, but the one-on-one interaction of those smaller settings really allowed us to have some good conversations and to walk away with, what I think we knew we wanted to get to work doing, and so when I say it got started very quickly, the budget process is upon us.
It's
as-
here,
it
my
is.
It's
friend.
now. Yeah,
It's here.
now.
It is. So folks in town hall are already putting their preliminary things together.
Yep.
Kind of a rough sketch of budgets, and then most of the boards and commissions approving any portion of that budget will have to be done in January,
Right.
so that the first selectman can then put together a budget she'll recommend for us to take a look at.
Yeah, and
So-
that's a really interesting thing, and we'll do another segment, I'm sure, on the budget
Yes.
process, and we'll bring the folks from the Board of Finance in. But yeah, like you said, the department heads are putting their budgets together now and their recommendations. Those are due to the first selectman, as you said, in usually in early January.
Yeah.
And then the first selectman, like you said, puts the budget together, makes her recommendations, and she actually recommends the budget to the Board of Selectmen.
Correct.
And then we take it up for consideration. So we're not actually officially part of the process until it comes to us.
Right.
And then we
Right.
have all those budget workshops that are on SCTV that the folks do a great job of taping and coming out to get out to the public, and people come in and ask questions, and we hear each of the department heads and
Right.
what their needs are, and what their challenges are, and where they'd like to to spend the hard-earned tax dollars
Yeah.
and in the right spot. So this one will be a very interesting year, because we've got one pressure that was already looming out there in Hartford, and we just don't know what's going to happen there, obviously.
Right.
And then two, what's going to go on at the legislature? Is the governor going to do something
car
with
tax.
the car tax? Is
Yeah.
that going to get reduced?
Right.
Is there going to be a statewide mill rate? There's all these questions out there. And I think we talked about it. We got some analysis last term. The car tax makes up approximately $6 million.
Right.
It's huge.
In terms of our revenue stream. That's
Right.
that's a significant impact.
Yeah.
When you couple that with the potential impact of the Hartford, you're talking about some real dollars.
Right. I mean,
So-
if you look at the Board of Selectmen's budget being $18 million,
Right.
of that 90+ million of the total budget, and not that it would all be absorbed by us, it
No.
would be absorbed overall by the budget, but just to put in perspective, between the Hartford and if we lost the full 6 million, close to $8 million,
Right.
and that's a lot of money. It's a real lot of money. And some of the preliminary discussions, and certainly the things that we talked about a lot throughout the campaign, and is economic development. And I think a real focus towards a lot of discussion around the second phase of the marketing study and how we might support implementing that, and
Right.
working with collaboratively with some groups in town to execute some of those things. I know EDC is also looking at a website for sort of the doors are open for business
Right.
website, and really putting together a comprehensive website for economic development, which I think is so critical, because folks are doing those analysis before they ever walk sort of over the threshold of the entrance of our town.
Right.
Right.
And sometimes in that case, they do or don't, depending upon what is available for them to make their economic analysis as to whether they come to our town. And so the face that we put on in that arena is critical.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
can I just say, while we have the opportunity, for a forum, I've been involved in the budget process from a PTO point of view for years, and to all of you out there who have only looked at it from the sidelines, I encourage you to get involved. Go to the meetings.
Yeah.
We have public audience. We have public hearings. Go and make your feelings known, because I can't tell you how many times we heard, through the schools and through other organizations that I didn't know, I didn't realize, and it's really important to inform yourself of what's going on, and it makes you, a better citizen of the town to get informed and to participate in the process.
Yeah. Right.
And it's going to be crucial now if we're to handle this very difficult budget season together, that people come and make their feelings known.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really important. And 2 points to that. One, the town has done a great job of putting the budget process on the website.
Yeah.
Right.
Mary and her staff have really, kudos to them. They've done a nice job of making that information accessible to the public.
Right.
So there will be the website for that, and obviously we'll share that, as we will on the Board of Selectmen level. Additionally, there's going to be some hard choices this time around, no question about it. So it's really important that we hear from folks, as you just said, early and often.
That's right.
Yes.
The time to go is now.
Because we were elected to make those hard choices, and we intend to do so. We intend to do so with as much information as we possibly can, and with the town's best interest in mind. But folks said loud and clear that we need to do something about the mill rate.
Right.
We need to do something about both sides of the spreadsheet, as you've
Exactly.
articulated very well many times. So your point on economic development is right on, and I think you've got some great ideas that I heard you talk to voters about, that I've heard you talk at Board of Selectmen meetings about, that we've talked about at various venues, and I'm looking forward to working with you to implement those, and with Mary and Lisa as well.
Correct.
But there's going to be some really tough choices made, and again, I encourage folks. You can come to the Board of Ed meetings and voice your opinion. You can come to our meetings and voice your opinion. You can come to the Board of Finance meetings. I'm told the Board of Finance is going to have public audience going forward.
Yep.
Now they've always
You've heard
had
it here.
they've always had public audience at all the budget processes, but
Right.
they're going to continue to expand that to
That's
all of their
fantastic.
meetings.
But really, waiting to the end is not the most effective way
It's not.
to
No.
let your feelings be known. The time to get involved is at those commission level meetings. If you have an issue with the schools, go to the Board of Ed, because they're doing it now.
Concerns,
Right.
issues,
If you have an
suggestions, yep.
issue for the Board of Finance, the taxes, whatever it is, go to the Board of Finance meeting.
Right.
And that's true of any commission.
Absolutely.
And if you can't make it to the meetings, all of our email addresses are on the town website. You just click on our name under our respective board, whether it be Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen, Board of Ed, send us an email. Those come right to us. I'm like,
Right.
got it right here with me.
Right, we can
24
get those
hours a
up.
day.
We can get those up on the screen as we
But
mentioned that right now.
all,
That's
of,
right.
all of your elected officials have email addresses, and I think that's really important. That
Right.
some folks are like, well, how do I get in touch
If you
with you?
can't
How
get
do
there, so
And
send us a message.
Our budget workshops, when you talk about early, that really is because there's real detailed discussion at that time, and at that, and you've got the department heads there. They're explaining, in great detail what they worked through. Last year's discussion about the tree trimming from Culture Parks and Rec to Public Works, and understanding about how all that is, works, and so I think it's important, and will be a season of tough choices to be made. The more educated folks can be on, and I think understand what the end game is, what we're really trying to accomplish, and they can, get out and support some of those efforts in the end.
Absolutely, and we all have a long history in town in our own rights and our own families and our own connections, but there's a lot of institutional knowledge in this town that it'd be important to hear from those folks. We've got our
Absolutely.
experiences and our connections, but it's really important that we get that from as many folks as we can.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that we can make those decisions. I've only been here for 31 years.
Oh, you
But,
got double on me.
But all joking aside, I think Mike's got us all beat. But
Right.
Mike
it's,
does
Yeah,
have
he
us all
does.
beat. Yeah.
He does. We don't want to get in that one.
Can't compete in that
I
arena.
think we're gonna have to get pretty soon name a road after his family. But we'll see. But we've got some other exciting things going on in the Board of Selectmen coming up pretty soon, right?
Yeah, well, we through the budget process, or I should say some initial things that we do is approve board and commission appointments. And so we wanted to make a special point tonight of also saying to folks, we're contacting people in the community who have served in hopes that they'll want to continue to serve, but there's always people for different reasons that have to step down or step aside, and so we're looking for folks to fill some of those positions.
Right. So those are all the permanent boards in the charter. That would be Economic Development Commission, Historic District Commission,
Clean Energy
Clean
Task.
Energy.
Yeah.
Well, those, and then the
Those are the
temporary boards and
boards,
commissions
right.
to the Board of Selectmen. So there's hundreds of volunteers on both sides of the
I
aisle.
was just going to say, absolutely.
Both, and again, you don't have to be a Democrat or a Republican. You can be an unaffiliated. You can whatever
Right.
other party you're associated with. We'll consider anybody that comes in with a skill set and a passion to help the town. We're all volunteers.
Yep.
And it takes hundreds of volunteers to run this town in the various boards and commissions. So if folks are interested in any of the boards, and all of those are listed on the town website,
Yeah.
contact me, Sean
Right.
Askham, and I'd be happy to point you in the
Put
right
that on the
direction.
bottom again.
Yeah,
Right.
we'll make sure we get that
Get that
contact
contact
information
Well,
to
and
you.
if you're not sure, but you'd just like to volunteer, maybe we could make some suggestions,
Absolutely.
based on what you tell us about yourself. So
Yeah.
we could always, help out. if
I
somebody
always
wants to.
encourage folks, and we talk about the town website as being such a great resource, and it is, because it tells you when the boards meet, how often they meet. You can read the minutes of their meetings to understand what kind of decisions they're making, discussions they're having. It gives you who's on the board as well. So you might know somebody, and you can give them a call, and you
Right.
can discuss with them firsthand what being involved entails. And so I think that's just such a great way to, we had the volunteer appreciation event
Yep.
in April, and we had 135
Just on
folks
our side.
just
Right.
Republicans,
Right.
on over 30 plus boards and commissions. So I think it's important. A lot of people don't realize the amount of people it takes to get done all that we do in our town, and
Right.
it's thanks to all those folks that we're able to do that.
Absolutely. And we're forming new boards and commissions every day, so there's always more, always new
More
opportunities to
opportunities.
do that.
Yeah,
But
and
it's-
that does go to the whole skill set thing. I mean,
Yep.
that's what it's really all about. Some of the boards and commissions are a bit dictated in that regard, as far as the skill sets that are required, or like historic district where you live.
Design review. Or,
Right. And in some cases, really depending upon, and it evolves and it changes, but the priorities of work for those boards and commissions, it might be that, somebody's in need of the skill set of an attorney, or, something, along that line. So that's why any good help is always needed in that
absolutely. And it's if folks want to help the town, as Nancy articulated, there's a lot of ways to do it. Some of these boards meet during the week in the morning. Some are in the evening. The meetings for some of them are pretty flexible in terms of different times and different places. Additionally, there's, if folks are interested in economic development and maybe there's not a spot there, tourism is really important for economic development. The historic
Absolutely.
district is really important for
Right.
economic development.
Yep.
There are culture,
All
parks, and
sorts of
rec is
things.
still important
Yeah.
for economic development. All
Right.
these things kind of roll in together
Yeah.
to help us, kind of drive this town forward and lower our tax base, continue to improve our services. And
Yeah, and what you mentioned, Culture Parks and Rec, and of course we just got to volunteer at Simsbury Celebrates, and
Yep.
how much fun that was.
that was a fantastic night.
My favorite thing to do, and I've done it for, I want to say 7 at least plus years now, pictures with Santa. Kids are either giggling and beaming or terrified.
Or terrified, exactly. Or crying.
But yeah. Carol Brown and Linda Johnson, those folks do a fantastic job, and I know they're always looking for help too. So if we
they
can
are.
plug, it starts the very next day. Jackie, your wife's involved with that too.
She is. She does the fire truck parade, so she loves that.
Yeah. So,
But and town staff helps out with that. Jerry Toner and Taryn Ray from Culture
Yes.
Parks and Rec. Taryn really is the brawn behind that operation. She works on that very, very hard throughout the year. So she did a fantastic job, in her team. So
and that reminds me also of the Halloween event we went to at the library.
Yep.
What a great time
that
that
was
was.
fantastic. It was nice not to cancel Halloween.
Right.
You dressed up a little. I admittedly did not. So next time around,
That's okay.
I'll work on that.
But again, it emphasizes the point from the boards and commissions side. There's so many cool things going on in this town,
There
and
is.
it's almost all done by volunteers.
It
Yeah.
is.
And it's I really think that's great. And that's why we're all sitting here. We volunteered for
Right.
something else in town, and
Yeah.
it kind of led us to this. And you don't have to run for office to help. You don't have to, that's not the
Right.
only way to help out. So I think that's
Absolutely.
really important to remind folks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what else we got going on there, boss?
Well, we talked about some things that we had just recently approved on the Board of Selectmen, and I think one of the things that we knew was such a need, and you've talked about this subject before, and just in terms of transportation.
Right, for our
and
seniors.
Yeah. So we were so pleased to approve the Social Services, Mickey's request for the dial-a-ride for the new vehicle.
Right.
And one of the things that we've done as a group each year is the cell phones for seniors. And I did have a conversation with Mickey, and she said, geez, we're good in that regard. And I have to make a plug, and though folks joke, she said to me, but we need toilet paper. And so I really wanted to let people know they do. And it's one of the things that folks come and look for. And so, anything and everything is always good, but she did make mention of that. And she did also make mention of the fact that gift cards to Fitzgerald's or Stop and Shop, places like
Grocery
that.
stores.
Yeah, that can really be a big help to folks, especially this time of year. And, turkey trot. I mean,
Yeah,
that's another thing
That was great.
You had a nice big picture with two big birds.
There was three turkeys in the paper.
Turkeys.
That's a great event. I've been doing that event since I was a kid. I took a couple years off when I was out of town for a bit, but it was that was fantastic. Working with Jack Bannon's daughter and the Lions Club and the police department and the fire department and all of you guys coming out.
It's
I think
great.
they got several thousand turkeys, and then Food Share was able to put out an emergency plea to get the other remaining 2,500. And it's, as we talked to Mickey and we talked to the folks from Food Share and other places, the need continues to go up exponentially every week, every year, and it's donations have taken a slant in a lot of places on a downward trend, and
And the needs
that's
are
been
up.
hard.
The needs are up, so it's
It's
very
been hard, and we got Operation Fuel coming up again for social services, and and they need canned goods and toilet paper, as you said, and
Yes.
we collected those, and again kudos to Marion Town staff for having the canned food as part of our swearing-in ceremony on Monday.
Yes, that was very
So-
nice, and they collected quite a bit too there.
So any opportunity we can to help social services out, because those folks do a lot of heavy lifting in this town, and it was great, like you said, for dial-a-ride. And I believe most of those funds are coming out of a trust. They're not coming out of town funds.
Correct. That's very important to mention.
So that's an even bigger win. So the taxpayers aren't having to shoulder that, and I'm sure folks would be willing to do it. But there was generous folks that left social services. It's pretty sizable donations.
So a lot of that going on as of late.
Yeah, the Board of Ed's got some exciting
Isn't
things
that
there.
exciting?
Right.
Yeah.
And I understand through some Facebook postings and stuff that Harry Smith was in town.
Yes.
From CBS, and they're doing a story on.
Oh, really? On the
on the gift that was left to.
That's
the
amazing.
Board of Ed. So I think we're making our mark in a number of ways.
It's quite the community.
It is quite the community, and yes, and that's just sort of one of those. I mean, the story surprised so many people. I think because they were so unaware, and this. Woman, and her name escapes me right now, and I apologize, but just, a woman that wasn't very well known in town.
Yeah.
She was a teacher in the community, but just kind of kept to herself and was really very generous in her passing. And,
Absolutely.
And that dial-a-ride van is going to be used by the people who live at Virginia Connolly and Owen Murphy Apartments, and they are, have a great need for
Yes.
transportation.
Absolutely.
And it's a wonderful thing that they can do that. And if anybody is so inclined, to volunteer, they're always looking for some volunteers around Virginia Connolly. They collect foodstuffs for people who live there at Owen Murphy. We only provide housing for those who are over 62 or disabled. So there's always a need for volunteers. And, just to come in and do the coffee with the men. We have a great men's group who meets and has coffee, and they talk about anything, and there's all sorts of activities. So if you have a skill set and, you want to go and share it with
maybe
people.
I'll go up and sing.
You could sing, exactly. There's a piano.
We'll be busy that day.
I happen to know.
That was another great visit during the campaign to go up there and meet with folks. I mean, it was just fantastic.
Right.
But it should be important to note you were on housing, and now you're going to be the liaison to housing, right?
Yeah.
And Ed LaMontagne is thrilled.
He is.
He is very excited. He's very excited.
He
So you
is.
get to continue your service there,
Well,
which
and
is
I'm going to
fantastic.
be the liaison for aging and disabilities too.
well.
So I think that work
Extremely-
will mesh
yes.
together very well.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of stuff to consider.
Absolutely.
With senior center considerations and a lot of other, it's amazing how many things happen in buildings and around town. You know, there's handicap parking spaces and ramps and everything else that aging and disability gets involved in.
Absolutely, yeah, they
know
did
that-
have
Which is
that
great.
campaign to really bring that to folks' attention. I think sometimes in our day-to-day lives we get through our routines, and that was a really big focus of theirs to bring that to light and let folks know, please be respectful of
Right.
Parking and
And Senator Whitcoast, I believe, sponsored and passed a bill at the Capitol this past session
yep
on that topic to strengthen the enforcement of
Right.
handicap parking
very
issues. So
important.
that's
Yeah.
it's a great example of the community and the volunteers on aging disability and Mike on there,
Right.
you know, working with Senator Whitcoast to get something done. So
yeah.
Well, I'm really
fantastic.
looking forward to working with them on those types of issues around
Yeah.
town. So
Yeah, and we do. That's part of what we did at our organizational meeting. Is Mary had given us all our liaison appointments, and so now, in addition to the budget work we do and the our meetings twice a month, we're all out attending other boards and commission meetings and participating in subcommittees, and I think that's where we see even a further ability to utilize our skill sets and
Yep.
and really help get some good things done for the town. So
absolutely.
yeah. So this is our last 2013 show.
All right, it is.
I know. So
I would be
2000
sad, except we'll be back in 2014.
we will be back.
and Mike will join us,
Mike
and
will.
we'll have some
Right.
some great guests because, again, there's a lot to share about the budget,
There is.
a lot to share about economic development. One of the things that we really are going to focus on, that, like you said, we talked a lot about, and so much
Right.
more to share with folks. So we appreciate SCTV allowing us the opportunity to come in and tape this program and
Dealing with our schedules.
and dealing with our
Right.
crazy work schedules and the volunteers that help us out to accomplish this. We really do appreciate that. So with that, we will say thanks to the folks for watching us this evening. And
Absolutely.
please, again, we'll share with you our phone numbers and contact information. If anything's on your mind, feel free to reach out to us. And we look forward to 2014. Happy New Year.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.